It's 4 o'clock. We'll go ahead and get started. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Really appreciate your time. My name's Kevin Martins, and I've got a few guest presenters with me today that we'll invite up on stage a little bit further into the presentation. I'm a partner technical architect with one commercial partner. That means I'm focused on you. I'm focused on you to help explain technology to you, to help explain it in perhaps not just a technical way, but also in a way to help you make money. How do you turn something like SecureScore into a money-making operation, into a business capability, right? So we're going to go through that today. How many people, just show of hands real quick, have ever opened up the SecureScore console? Wow, man, that's a great show of hands. I see about half the hands come up. This is for the recording as well as the live broadcast that we have going on. Fantastic. Okay. So for those of you who did not raise your hand, we're going to go quickly over SecureScore. I'll give you an overview, and then we'll get into a demonstration of what it is, how it works, some of the different ways that you can manipulate the data that's in there. Then I'll tell you about how you can position Microsoft SecureScore for new business, right, with existing clients or new clients. And I'll tell you some partner stories. We'll have a partner come up here on stage. They'll tell you their story about how they turn SecureScore into that business opportunity. And then we're going to look into the future of Microsoft SecureScore. Where is it going? What are some of the changes that you've seen already in just the past couple of months, and why? Okay. So let's set the stage. Okay, you probably have seen slides like this before. So we see 300% increase in identity-based attacks this year, right? And it's growing. Why is that? Well, a lot of people are not sitting behind a firewall anymore in an office, right? They're everywhere. They're on mobile phones. They're sitting at home. They're sitting at a Starbucks. They're sitting wherever it may be. And for the most part, all they have is a username and password, right? The attackers know that. The attackers are also launching a lot of different types of malware at us. It's polymorphic. What does polymorphic mean? Polymorphic means it's malicious software that we've never seen before, right? You can't just scan things based on antivirus definitions anymore. That stuff is gone. You now have to look at everything in detail, detonate things in chambers and look for that malicious activity. 96% of what we see, and we have a very, very wide breadth of what we see out there coming in and from the world, but 96% of that we've never seen before. So what does an organization do today? Well, they're out there and they're searching for products, right? Different types of security products to answer these problems, right? To help them out with the defense of their network, to protect their data, protect their users from anything malicious out there. Sometimes we see up to 60 different security products. Okay, so think about the enterprise space. But even in the SMB or SMC space, well, sometimes you might have 10 different products. All right, well, with that comes a lot of control and configuration issues. There might be, say if you have 10 different products, there could be hundreds of different ways or settings or configurations or nerd knobs to adjust in those different products. How do you configure them just right? As an individual product and as well as products to make them work together. The vendor of whatever product that is going to explain, hey, here's how you make our product work, but they're never going to bring up how you make it work with other products. Does Microsoft ever have documentation that say, hey, to get our product to work with, you name the vendor or the product, here's what you've got to do? Typically not. Okay. So it's not just with all these other vendor security products, it's with our own. Anyone ever seen this? Oh, good show of hands. Excellent. This is the cybersecurity reference architecture. Don't worry about taking a picture or trying to study that. I know it's quite a bit to absorb. This represents a good chunk of the amount of security-focused products that Microsoft offers across Microsoft 365 and Azure. Okay, so again, you look at this and you say, where should I start? I know I've got a security problem. Everybody does. Everybody wants to raise the security posture of their organization. Where do you start with something like this? Or if you have all these other vendors in your environment, what are the recommendations, right? What are the top 5 things, the top 10 things that you can do for your organization? Okay. So here's our approach. We look at this and we want to give you a dashboard, visibility across your entire organization, Microsoft, right? Again, Microsoft 365 and Azure. Give you that visibility into all the different configurations and controls that are out there, and also provide recommendations across the board about what you can do to raise your security posture, right? But not just a template of recommendations, but something that's customized to you and your network, your industry. Everybody's different, right? So we've built something out called the Microsoft 365 Security Center. Anyone ever been in here? Okay, good show of hands, excellent. So this is newer, it came out a couple of months ago, and we've brought SecureScore into this recently, in the past couple of months. Okay, so here, we're at the home area up in the upper left of the screenshot here. We look down and we see we've got several different tiles, I'll call them, okay? We've got SecureScore, we've got identity protection, we've got device, let me look at my screen up here, device compliance, cloud app security, devices with active malware. It's a one dashboard that your security team can look at across the Microsoft space and see what's going on. What else is there? Well, there's policies, there's alerts, different things that are set up that you need to look at on a daily basis to see what's happening. Here's malware, potential malware or malicious activity detected on devices coming out of Intune. And this is important too. We're going to drill into this a little bit more here as we go through. Permissions. How many people in your organization have global administrator rights? Or maybe just security, any type of privileged role in your environment. Is it 5 people? Is it 1 person? Is it 10 people? Or does everybody have that right? There's a quick, easy way to look at that to see who has privileges that maybe they shouldn't have into my organization. And just by reducing those, you're reducing your threat. You're raising your posture, right? So we look into this a little bit more. Now let's go into SecureScore. We can see our numbers up here on the screen. We've got 356 points out of a potential 847 points. That 847 points is based on the licensing that you have enabled for your Office 365 tenant or Azure. Okay, so on here, 356, that's a really high score. We'll dig more into that in a little bit. So something else you're going to see that's different here, something that came out in the past couple of months, is we've got different pillars in here now. No longer do we have the different product-based donuts. Do you remember when we started SecureScore about 2 years ago? We had an Office 365 SecureScore. It was awesome, right? It was like a little circle, and here's typically here's a quarter of it that was shaded, right? Okay, you've got a SecureScore. You're starting to tick up, but you've got a ways more to go with different things that you can do to help secure your environment. We heard a lot of feedback from you all, and it was like, hey, this is great. You've got Office 365 SecureScore. You had Windows Defender, Microsoft Defender SecureScore. We were going product, looking at more product, more donuts, and so forth. And based on your feedback, we heard, hey, forget about the products. Let's put it into the Microsoft Threat Protection Framework. And now you've got these 5 areas. Identity, data, device, apps, infrastructure. Check out infrastructure, though. There's nothing there. If you go to your Microsoft SecureScore right now, you won't find any data on that. That's coming. Consider that a placeholder. There's a lot more coming to this. Okay, so SecureScore. We can look back at our history, 7 days, 30 days, 90 days, or a selected custom range. We'll demo that in a little bit. Right? You can get a detailed list on how did you get those points. Okay, you can compare your score against different industries or against all other tenants across Microsoft 365, based on industry, if you want to do it that way. And you get prioritized recommendations. What can you do? The heaviest, most recommended item, always at the top by default, and you can sort that, show you that later on. What can you do to increase your security posture? What's the first one on that list? For those that have been in the console or anyone that can read that up here. MFA on privileged roles, privileged accounts. Biggest one out there. We'll dig into that. Okay, and of course we can apply some filters to it, sort things different ways, but let's make this real. Let's get into a bit of a demo here, okay? So here we're in a demo tenant, okay? Microsoft 365 security area, again at the home screen. Let's go through this. If I can find my mouse, here we go. So from here, we can access Microsoft Security Score through security.microsoft.com. And then here again, we see our different tiles. We can click on this tile, or we can go over here on the left and look at Secure Score this way. You see an overview. Again, this tenant's different. 162 points out of 707. You see our improvement actions. We see our history. Well, let's go take a look at improvement actions here. Okay, so here I have 77 items. 77 items. There's close to 100 different items right now. 100 different recommendations in Microsoft Secure Score that you can utilize. Okay, that's growing by quite a bit. So on here, again, let's look at require MFA for Azure AD privileged roles. All right, if I want to find out more about that, what is it? Okay, I click on that, I click on the option, I get a description, and what's really interesting here too is, very fine print, but you have 5 out of 6 accounts with privileged roles that don't use multi-factor authentication today. It's giving you some insight into the number of privileged roles that you have that don't have MFA. Hey, that's something to take a look at, right? You get a category, you get user impact, complexity. What does it do? It protects against password cracking, account breaches, elevation privileges, and you get next steps. Okay, so let's take a look at next steps. You also get compliance controls and so forth. But let's say I want to enable this. Well, if I go down here to View Settings, it's going to take me right into the Azure portal. It'll take me into the conditional policy area. Let's go down here, conditional access. And here's my policy. Require MFA for admins under preview. If I want to enable this, click the button and I'm ready to go. Don't do this without communicating with your admins first. But still, very, very recommended. Okay, so there's a lot of other third-party products out there that provide the same or similar capability. If you use that product, that's no problem, okay? You can mark that in here and still get the points for that, okay? Let me get back in here. Or you can ignore it, right? Let's say, hey, I don't agree with that recommendation, or I have a very particular reason on why I don't need to worry about that, but I still want to maintain my high Microsoft Secure Score, okay? So you can ignore it. Okay, let's keep on going down the list. All right, so I see require MFA for all users, block client forwarding rules. You see a lot going on in here. Block client forwarding rules. Let's pick on that one. Why would I care about that as an admin? If I have an account breach, one of the first things an attacker is going to do with that account breach is set up an auto forward rule. So any email I get into me is going to automatically be sent out to whoever the attacker is. So that attacker does not have to keep logging in and checking my email with my username and password, perhaps from a geo where I don't normally access Office 365 from. Okay? They want to monitor my email, but not trip any alerts out there. Okay, again, same information. So let's go through this a little bit more. You get a feeling for all of the different recommendations that are in here that are, again, customized to you and your tenants. Your tenants were your client tenants in this case. You can group them by category, apps, data, group them by source, Azure Active Directory in this case, or by status, completed or incomplete. very flexible. So let's clear this filter out. And let's add another filter on. Okay, so I want to go across all 5 of those pillars that are up here. Again, there's 4 out of 5 that are active right now. I want to filter on everything that's a low user impact and a low implementation cost across all the different sources that are out there of where a secure score comes from. Let's apply that. Okay, so here, now I've got everything that's low user impact, low implementation cost. So now imagine that you're using this with a client and you're reviewing this with them. You could start to come up with a 30-day, a 90-day, 120-day plan for them based on what's the lowest impact, but yet it's going to start raising their security posture. We can also sort on some of these. Go up here and we'll clear these filters. And we can export it. We can export this out into a CSV file. Watch what happens. Okay, I'll export it out. I'll open this up. And we'll adjust some of these columns here. It just takes a moment. You're getting the same information in the GUI from Microsoft Secure Score now in an Excel spreadsheet. We'll bold the top here, bold the top row for the categories, and then we'll put a few filters on. Now, again, what if I were to take this into one of my clients? If I'm an MSP, I've got a number of different clients, and I've got an admin privileged account, I could pull this up. Secure Score is just there. There's nothing to configure. It's there for every tenant that's out there. What if I were to take this, open this up, and I start to look at this and I say, hey, I could bring this in to each one of my clients and make it a talking point, right? Hey, I pulled your Secure Score. Let's go over each one of these. Imagine the conversations this starts to spin up that leads to an upsell opportunity, not just in licenses, but also services work. Each one of these, you can't just go put on MFA for Azure AD privileged roles. You can click the box and implement the policy, but you're going to cause issues. You try to do that on all users without communicating it properly, yeah, you're going to have some issues there too. There's a lot of services work behind this, right? There's a lot of user education that you've got to do. Okay, so let's look at the history area. So here, on June 3rd, I had a score of 142 points. Now, if I go towards the end of the month, watch my score. I've got 162 points. What caused that increase in points? Well, we're looking at this, we're viewing this. Down here at the bottom, aha, I applied a data loss prevention policy, and it increased my score by 20 points. Get the category, get the score on before, score after, and so on and so forth. Now, here's where it also gets interesting. We received feedback from a lot of you that said, hey, this is great, but how do I compare to everybody else? Okay, so this score right here is the global average across all Office 365 tenants out there. That's your global average, 37. I saw someone go down, and maybe it's less. Maybe it trends a little bit here and there, but typically that's your score. So if you start to bring this number up as you walk into your clients, hey, let's give you a security evaluation. Let's set that up, right? I want to go through some settings with you and some recommendations and so forth. You know what you're going to find. Everybody's score looks like that, unless they've been into Secure Score and they're very security conscious and started turning on a number of these policies. Okay, so that's your global average. You know what's in the deck of cards, okay? Let's go ahead and take a look at this a little bit further. All right, so there's my global average. Let's look at the industry average. And this again, this came up based on your feedback. Hey, okay, so my industry average is 107. And we did this based on, well, if I'm a manufacturing industry, my Secure Score and the policies and recommendations that might be applied to me might be different from you who's in the healthcare industry or in the EDU space. Everybody's different, but you've got different verticals, and we've got a lot of telemetry coming in on that. So we came up with an industry score. And of course, hey, how does my secure score fit? If I think this demo tenant has about 50 different seats in it, right? But certainly my secure score is going to be different from someone that has 10,000 seats. So we've implemented a similar seat count secure score. Again, here's our Microsoft Threat Protection Framework. We've got identity, data, devices, apps, and infrastructure. And in infrastructure, of course, we don't have any data yet, soon to come. We could also go in here and filter out by dates. Okay, 7 days, 30 days, 90 days, custom date range. Let's crank this up to about 90 days, about 89 is what it's going to come out to. So now we have more information. Let's say you go into a customer and you review their secure score with them. All right, you reviewed it with them, and they started off at a score of 37. Well, they paid you to implement all these different recommendations out there. All right, well, based on that, now you've got a talking point. Every quarter you go back, every month you go back, you can now remind them of, hey, remember when you started out with a secure score of 37? Here's where I raised you. You can bring it up in this graph here. Okay? So let's move on. Now you've got an idea about secure score, about some of the capabilities that are in here. Let's talk about how they get calculated. All right, so every night at 1 a.m. Pacific time, we get telemetry in from all the different workloads, and we analyze that. SharePoint, Exchange, OneDrive, Azure AD, AIP, App Security, Windows Defender, Azure Advanced Threat Protection. Okay, we analyze all that. That's where your secure score starts to come from. But if you clicked on that ignore button or that third party, we take that into account as well. That's held in a separate database and calculated as part of your secure score. You also probably noticed, and maybe you've questioned this at times, that some of the items, some of the recommendations that are listed in there say no data available. That's simply because we don't have telemetry coming in on that. Some of those items are because maybe someone has not reviewed one of the weekly reports that we recommend that you do. Okay, well, based on that, we don't want to put in there, who reviewed the report. We want to make that anonymous. So we take that data point out, but we still include the information in some of these areas. So there's something else here. Secure Score API, the Secure Score API that we released. You could take all this data and put it into a Power BI dashboard if you wish. You can do a lot of things with this data. There's some partners out there who have made some incredible designs and they've developed their own business opportunity around this. So to talk more about this, I'd like to invite up Andreas and Christian for a few minutes.
Thank you very much, Kevin.
You got it.
My name is Andreas. I'm a security architect from Germany, and I'm really, really happy to welcome Christian Heit, CEO and founder of QualityHosting. So, Christian,
Yep.
Who is QualityHosting?
Yeah, sure. Some words about QualityHosting. We founded QualityHosting back 20 years. And our first cloud service we were launching was shared web hosting based on Windows Server NT4. Today our revenue, 15% of our revenue is coming from infrastructure services we are providing to our customers. 85% is coming from Microsoft productivity services. So hosted Exchange, SharePoint, and Microsoft 365 services are coming from our data center or from the Microsoft data center. We are operating today on hosted Exchange about 120,000 seats, and we are the largest hosted Exchange provider in Germany.
Hosting on premises, hosting on premises sounds like a dying business for me, right?
Yeah, but I guess not so in Germany because we have that privacy discussion and we see there's still a double-digit growth year over year. But of course, 80% of our new business is coming from the public cloud. And I guess like most of the people here in this room and this audience, we are also faced with challenges and we also have to go through this transformation as a partner.
What do you mean with challenges?
Yeah, of course we know that we have to transform our business, and most of the services in the future will come from the public cloud. And of course we see that more and more different Microsoft partner types, SIs, ISVs, telcos, disties, are also active in this space, and a lot of these partners are just transacting licenses. And of course, if you are just transacting licenses, your margin is much lower. And this raises the question, okay, where can I make the margin in the future? What is the business model of my company in the future? And this is something you have to solve and to think about.
Okay, sounds interesting. What have you done after you have recognized that your business will become smaller in the future?
I've been in 2017 to Ignite in Orlando, and this was the time frame when Microsoft launched this whole security framework. And I went there to a session of Alex Weinert. He's the guy who's responsible for identity and Azure AD. And he shared a number with the audience that only 1% of all global admins are protected by MFA. From 2017 to 2018, I've been back to Orlando. We saw an increase of 100%. So 2% at the end of 2018 have been protected by MFA. So Microsoft has increased the possibilities in the security space. But on the other side, Microsoft made very transparent with the Q score that most of the customers are not really able to adopt these enterprise-grade security features. And yeah, so we came up with the idea, how can we automate security for customers? And how can we decrease the complexity? And so we contacted the local Microsoft team in Germany, shared our ideas, and then we started to build our solution Managed Security 365. And what we are doing with this solution is we developed a security best practice, a baseline, which consists today of about 40 to 60 different configurations in the area of identity, Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, or Teams. These are org-specific settings or user-centric settings, and we are deploying these settings automatically to a customer tenant. And we are not only deploying these settings, we are constantly monitoring the tenant. So if an admin or user did a wrong configuration, and we match this configuration to our best practice, and it's not compliant, we autocorrect this wrong setting. And with this, we democratized security, especially for the SMB space, because they have a lack of knowledge and resources to implement this. And on the other side, what we did for the enterprise space is if you have a huge number of users and you want to ensure a consistent security settings and you want to check if you're compliant with your security policies, our solution also helps you.
Great. So, what's in for you? Please, Christian, tell us, what's in for all of our partners?
We at QualityHosting, we have a long history with partners for about 20 years. We are running a channel of about 1,000 partners today. And when we built our solution Managed Security 365, we had already partners in mind. The solution is brandable, this is one example, so white labelable, but on the other side I want to point out 3 topics which I think are very important. One thing is you have one dashboard as a partner where you can see all your tenants, and you see the services your tenant is consuming, or your tenants are consuming, and on the other side you see the secure score of all tenants, and you can easily identify business opportunities to get engaged with your customers. That's one point. Second point is that we allow partners to build their own security best practices and security baselines and templates. And with this, you can build own baselines for different verticals or companies of different sizes. So you can differentiate also from other partners. That's a big point. Another pain, I would say, for most of the partners is if it's coming to multi-tenant management with Azure AD. So imagine you want to deploy a security setting to 100 different customers or 100 tenants. Currently, you have to log on each tenant, and you have to roll out your security setting manually. What our solution allows you is to create a template define your security setting, select the customers you want to roll out the security setting, and with one click you can roll out the security setting in batch. And this is a big topic for partners, I guess.
Sounds really good. As far as I know, you have a really, really good high lead generation from cold calls. So what is the different, what you're doing now different than in the past?
This is a funny story. When we launched the product Managed Security 365 last year, the local go-to-market team of Microsoft came to us and said, hey, we have a brilliant idea. We have budget for you. Let's run a telemarketing campaign and cold calls. And I don't know how it is for you here in the audience. We at QualityHosting, we had never been successful for the last 15 years in running a telemarketing campaign. Never worked out. But yeah, when Microsoft is asking so nice, you give it a try, and we gave it a try. And to be honest, our expectations were very low. And typically for the German market, you calculate that you will get out 3% leads out of 100 calls. And with Managed Security 365, we reached in the target group of customers 100 to 500 seats, a lead quote of about 15%. So 15% of all accounts we reached out to were interested in our solution and were a qualified lead. So this shows how strong the demand for security in general is, and this is a big topic, but on the other side, how big the interest is in solutions which are able to reduce the complexity and make it much more easier for customers to increase their security.
Perfect. So we have some call to actions for you. So as Christian mentioned, this solution is available as a white label solution. So you can use it. So please visit aka.ms/QH. Will be redirects you to the QualityHosting website for further more information. We will be on the front stage after the session, and we will be also within the hub at the threat protection booth within the modern workplace, round about 30 minutes after the session. Or go directly in touch with Christian and ask him for more information, ask your questions. With that, thank you very much, and back to Kevin.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Yep. Yeah, hey, thank you. All right, thank you, guys. Fantastic. So we're starting to make this more real. We're starting to talk more about the business opportunity out here for you as Microsoft partners. Let's move on. So as part of the research that we wound up doing to prepare for this presentation here, we started looking for Microsoft partners out there who are doing something right now active with SecureScore. And we came up with 25, just 25. There were a lot more out there, okay? But on a quick search, 25 were out there. So when we reached out, we said, hey, you know, can we profile you, just put you up on the slide, and can you tell us a story? Tell us how you're positioning Microsoft SecureScore to help grow your business, to help lead that conversation into elevating the security posture of your different clients. Boy, did we get back a lot of stories. They're phenomenal. I want to go through for the next couple of minutes and share some of these with you and start to get you thinking about how you can position SecureScore with your clients, again, to launch that conversation. So let's look at this one here. Enabling Technologies, fantastic Microsoft partner. I've got a couple of stories here. I'm going to read them verbatim. There's a lot here, so stand by. Enabling Technologies engaged with an international nonprofit organization who needed to keep their information secure and protect their reputation. After an initial security assessment and detailed review of their SecureScore, they decided to roll out Microsoft Intune to managed iOS and Android devices. This represented an upsell opportunity in licensing as well as services work. If you're going to roll out Intune, there's a lot of conversations that have to happen. There's a lot of project work that has to happen. There's a lot of user education that has to happen. And of course, Intune is an increase in a license. Okay? Once done, the client was interested in raising their security score even higher. They're hooked. Used in combination with enabling Spark security engagement program, Penetration testing was performed. Azure Active Directory, MFA, of course, was enabled, and a frequent security review schedule was established. A heck of an opportunity. Another one, Agile IT. SecureScore makes it easy for Agile IT to communicate the need, value, and impact of their Agile security program. Agile IT's automation toolkit combined with the Microsoft Graph API allows them to reach time to value and time to security faster, but it is SecureScore that tells the story with their clients. It's all about storytelling, right? The simple visualizations help spur the conversations with non-IT business decision makers. You don't have to be technical to understand the visualizations in here. While SecureScore recommendations help them build prioritized roadmaps with IT leadership. The best part about SecureScore, Microsoft SecureScore, is that it is impartial. It just reports. It just tells the story. And like I said before, it's just there. You don't have to configure this. You just have to open it up and take a look and start to evaluate it. Another one, General Networks. They used Microsoft SecureScore as a weekly report progress during an EMS implementation. On each weekly call, the project manager would review the latest Microsoft SecureScore based on that week's work. He'd compare that to the maximum amount of points and the average score for the defense industry that this client operated in. They actually got their CEO excited about it. And the CEO started asking, hey, what can we do to increase our SecureScore even higher? And playfully saying, hey, let's get it to the max score. Let's crank this up. For them, Microsoft SecureScore shows the value of the services they are providing and gives the clients something tangible at every part of the sales and delivery process. A lot of good stories here for just about each one of these logos that are on the screen from different Microsoft partners like yourself. We had stories come back. Amazing. We do have a blog that'll summarize a lot of this being published next week that you can look into more. Okay, so who here likes to make money? Every hand, right? Every hand goes up. All right, so how can you take something like Microsoft SecureScore as a product, as a feature set, and turn it into an assessment? How can you do that? How have these other partners been successful? We just talked about that. Well, one of the things you can do is pricing. Hey, I'm going to offer that up at $99, but it might be a $599 value. I'm just making this up, right? But have the tagline in there. Again, start that conversation. Have the client have some skin in the game, so to speak, of the $99, right? You may already have a security assessment available using a number of different products that are out there. Include SecureScore as part of that. Doesn't that open up a lot more conversation topics to go through and a lot more recommendations that you can implement? Again, it's a report. It's impartial, okay? And of course, you're probably meeting with your clients every month, every quarter. You've got more talking points now. So you can talk about this, you can show it to them, but what about advertising? What about marketing that you offer up this type of service? There's a lot of clients out there that only operate now in the Microsoft Cloud. It's fantastic. You want to cater to them, okay? So we've created a couple of templates. Here's an example offer. That's in a PowerPoint format. You can take this and you can simply put your partner name and contact information on it, as well as your logo, and get right into market. You can change around the wording in here, but you get the idea. We've got some graphics in here. Title is Microsoft Cloud Security Assessment. Modify anything you wish. In fact, I recommend it, that you put your differentiators into an offer like this. Then you put it on your website. You print it out. You give it to your sellers. You talk about it. You talk about some of the stories that we just shared and about the topics of conversation that an offer like this and a SecureScore assessment program will help bring up, okay? There is a download link for this PowerPoint at the end of the slide here. We'll get back into that. But we're trying to make it easy, okay? Easy for you to get this into market. So we talked about SecureScore, gave you an overview, told you about how a lot of Microsoft partners are being successful with SecureScore, talked about some marketing, some collateral that we have out there. But what about some new features? Where's SecureScore going? So I mentioned earlier that SecureScore was recently brought into the Microsoft 365 Security Center. Okay, we've spent a lot of time on that. The past, 6 to 9 months or so has been spent on doing that. A lot of effort has gone forward to do that, to bring it out of the old system and put it into the new dashboard. Okay, so because of that, you haven't probably seen a lot of advancements in SecureScore. Well, no more. By later on this year, you're going to start to see a lot of other things spin up, and I'll give you a taste of what those are here. Okay, let me build this out, and then we'll just start going through a few of them. Improved scoring system, experience updates, metrics and trends, improved history, near real-time status instead of just the 24-hour calculations. Okay, so here you recognize already a couple of differences. I've got actions to review called out right at me, right in a new panel here. I've got 2 regressed items, 2 items that have slipped. Maybe I was scored on the positive side last week, but this week, I slipped on 2 items. What are they? I'll be able to click on the View button to go see those. I've got 6 things that are past due. What do you mean past due? Well, we're going to enable you to set your own TLAs, right? We've heard from you that also, let me move on here. We've heard from you that the SecureScore that was up there, the different numbers, the numerators and the denominators, for some of you, it seemed like a moving set of goalposts, right? How come my score was 754 today, but last week it was 765, something like that? Well, we hear you on that, and we're trying to make it as easy as possible to use this. So instead of numbers, we're going to look at doing percentages up here. Okay, here's another area. Planned actions. So require MFA for global admins. Okay, we see the identity, but we also see a ticket in here. What if you're going through this in the future with your clients and they say, yes, I want to do that, and they have ServiceNow? You'll be able to click on these recommendations in here and automatically create a ticket in your ticketing system. Okay, and then you'll be able to track them through this interface. Over here, we talked about benchmarks, right? Benchmarks of your SecureScore compared to others that are of a similar seat count or in the industry, a different industry, your own industry, whatever it may be. Now, in the past, in the old SecureScore, if I wanted to change the industry that I was in, I had to go to the admin portal to switch that. Well, by switching that, the industry in the admin portal, I switched it for all of Office 365, my entire tenant. We're going to be able to do that modeling in just this portal, just for SecureScore. And we're offering that up because you may be in the, you may build engines. You might be in the automotive industry. But the engines that you build, you also build them for the aviation industry. So you may want to look at both of those scores and then set up your own target. Also on this, we're looking at the history. You're seeing a much bigger pane, a much larger view into your history. This, again, you still be able to only go back about 90 days or so, but you're going to get a much richer amount of detail at the very bottom into what's going on with your SecureScore. Let's start to wrap this up. When we think about the partner outcome, okay, we talked about SecureScore. We talked about positioning Microsoft SecureScore for new business. We talked about marketing SecureScore. And we looked at a few of the features that are coming out. But I want to hit back on the business, the capabilities of what's out there, right? So we talked about global admins, enabling MFA. Okay, I think Christian brought up a number just a few moments ago when he was on stage where he talked about back in 2018 we had a number of 2%. 2% of all global admins in Office 365 are enabled with multi-factor authentication. Horrible. The year before that, it was something like 1.7. Anyone want to guess what number we're up to right now as of like a week ago? 10, 6? Okay. 9%. 9%, that sounds awesome. When we talk about going from 1.7 to 2 to now 9 in just a year, it sounds great, but it's still horrible. We have a lot of work to do, only with your help. The partner network. You guys can start to use this. And I go back to my deck of cards analogy, right? You know what you're going to find when you offer up a secure score assessment with your customers, when you market it, when you advertise it, when you bring it up, hey, let's evaluate it. It's like, going down here and to one of the card tables, right? You know what's in your hand. You don't know what the dealer has, and you don't know what's coming up next on the deck. With Secure Score, you know that because you know what everybody else has before you walk in. Use that to your advantage. Okay? So what's next? Go back and evaluate your own Microsoft Secure Score. For those that have not raised their hand, when I asked the question earlier, who's been into the portal, open up your own Secure Score. Take a look at it. You don't have to do every recommendation that's in there because everybody is different, okay? There's a couple of key ones that are in there that you definitely want to do, but set yourself up to tell your own story, live your story, and then you can go into your clients and say, yes, Microsoft recommends that you get up, that you do all these different things, but based on our experience, what you're being paid to do, here's what we recommend you do. We're going to start off with these top 10 things, 30 days, 60 days, 90 days out. Now you've got a project plan. All that services work. Develop your own Secure Score assessment. Use the marketing template that I just showed up here on the screen. Go out and download that when you get back. Okay? And again, use Secure Score to your advantage, right? Set the goals, execute on them, track the progress, and repeat it from one client to the next. Who likes to make money? There's a great way to do it. Don't leave that money sitting on the table. Okay. With that, we'll be around for any other questions. Thank you all so much for coming. Really appreciate your time. And look for a lot of those new features to come out later on this year, especially around the Ignite 2019 timeframe, November timeframe. Okay? Thank you all very much. On behalf of Andreas and Christian and I.